Anyways, let's move on. We can talk about every single game here, but we don't want to talk about whatever 82 times 30 is.
It's a lot of games.
Yeah, it's a lot of games. But we're going to move on to the part that we've all been actually waiting for to talk about, and this is going to be the power rankings for the point guard position. And we're going to do every single position. We're also going to be doing 6-man. That's going to be going along with our division preview, so watch out for those. So we're going to be doing point guards, shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards, centers, and 6-man. Dave wrote centaurs, so I was about to say centaurs. But let's get into the top 30. This is just starting point guards. Starting point guards for point guards. What are your thoughts on just all of these 30?
It was actually really hard to do this because I kind of was going along and filling in. Some are obvious, some are less so. Like that 10 to 25 area is just a muddled mess of names because you know what? When you look at point guards in today's NBA, there's a big difference in play style between the guys who are just pure old school point guards and then this new age of point guard that we've become accustomed to today where they're a me first point guard, they're jacking up shots,
Honestly, from our 26 to 1, I wouldn't be mad with any of these guys on our team. Obviously, I would pick one over the other, but if I'm all right, this guy's my starting point guard, I wouldn't be that mad. It obviously depends who he's next to.
You can survive with that, yeah.
Yeah, it obviously depends who he's next to, but the point guards in the NBA are loaded. There's a lot of good point guards in the NBA, so this one was really difficult.
All right, so who's not in that 26 to 1 is the question.
We all agree.
Don't make the cut.
We all agree. Well, some of us agree, but somehow this guy ends up at 30. It's Michael Carter-Williams of the Bucks. He received 5 total points. Ricky had him last, and Dave and I had him at 29th. And also, if you do want to check out these power rankings, we're going to post them on our website. The link will most likely be in the description as well.
Mostvaluablepodcast.com, baby.
And we will also we also used Real GM's starting lineups. But anyways, Michael Carter-Williams is the worst point guard in the NBA in our minds, and I think it's we had Jared Bayless, Dave and I did.
Yeah.
But Michael Carter-Williams was second worst
because technically he's probably gonna get outshined by Giannis, who's gonna be the point forward. So it's one of those asterisk situations where yes, Michael Carter-Williams is technically listed as your starting point guard, but true to the role, he will not be.
And he's athletic and he's good driving to the basket, but he shoots 25% from 3. So if you're gonna be not even the point guard and you're gonna be a guy who's gonna be getting the ball passed to him,
space. You're fucking things up.
You're not going to be able to shoot the ball, and I wouldn't be surprised if Delly ends up being the end-up starting point guard because he can shoot, and if they're going to run with Giannis,
Delly's been lighting up in the Olympics.
He has.
Making the case.
So I wouldn't be really shocked if Michael Carter-Williams isn't the starting point guard for the Bucks after 20 games. So I'm not really shocked there. And then Jared Bayless, he's a really good role player.
Yeah.
But then again, he's not going to be an actual point guard.
Yeah, let's be honest. Between Michael Carter-Williams, Jared Bayless, and even some of the names a little bit further up, I would rather have Sean Livingston as my starting point guard than these guys. Jared
I wouldn't
Bayless,
disagree.
Yeah, I would even put him as a 6-man. He's a role player.
Yeah.
He can soak up some minutes.
He's a role player who can shoot from deep. Ricky, what are your kind of thoughts, and what kind of shocked you out of our top 30?
Well, my thing with the top 30, I had him originally a little bit too high. You guys talked me down. I had him at 23 when I finished, but Emmanuel Mudiay, it was one of those things where,
Ricky, where'd you originally have Mudiay?
At first,
be honest.
I can't even. I think it was 12.
No, you remember. It was 11.
No, because I had D. Russell at 11.
Okay.
Mudiay was 12. Get it right?
Even better. No.
But it was one of those things where I looked at it and I went, oh, it's probably because of all the hype that I still have for him coming out of the draft and stuff. So I eventually had him fall lower, and overall he fell to, 26th overall on
26.
There's a lot of potential. No one's going to take that away from him.
I want to rank him high just because I like his future.
And this isn't where he's going to end up at the end of the season.
This is coming
into the season. We think he's the 26th best point guard or fifth worst point guard. But again, he's still developing. He's still a young kid, and he obviously showed a lot of potential. So it's not like we're
there
trashing
were flashes,
on him.
Definitely.
Yeah, and same with D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell ended up around 20. So and he really didn't get that time to play. But what he shows on the court when he does play, that's really why he's up there. What else kind of shocked you? What kind of older guys near the middle now? We'll kind of move our way up.
It was, and they're listed, they're one after another on our rankings. It was Rondo was tough for me. I thought I had him too high. Rose was do I give you what you could be? Do I give you what I think you are right now? And then Dennis Schroeder, it's okay, now you're the man in Atlanta. Where do we rank you?
Yeah, that was an interesting decision because both Rondo and Rose came off really good last seasons. Rose healthy from the midpoint on, really turned up. I think he was shooting just shy of 50%. And going into next season, coming off of that high streak, lots of good feelings for him. As long as he stays healthy and this new 2011 super team does well. Rondo, on the other hand, goes from a team where he got to dish the ball to Boogie all day, stack up those assists, and actually led the league in assists. Now he's coming to a team that is 4 out of 5. My whole job is to drive to the basket.
Well,
So,
the way you gotta
we'll
think
see.
about it, it's a hockey town here in Chicago, so you do that double assist
know about
thing.
that.
Dude, listen, just listen.
You're
Just
wrong.
listen.
but
Cubs
okay.
fan saying this.
Listen. He passes out to Wade. Wade drives, passes it to Butler. He still gets the assist because of the double assist, the hockey
Yeah,
reference.
but we're
in
playing
there.
basketball here. It
Yeah,
was
I'm
a really
saying
bad reference.
The Hawks are better than the
See-
Bulls. That's what I'm trying to say,
Okay,
Sean.
but it's still not a hockey town. We're
Yeah,
still not a hockey
I
town.
still think it is.
No, the Bulls are still the Bears are more popular.
The
than Hawks.
Fairweathers are strong here in Chicago.
Okay, but the Bears are
Then
still more.
the Cubs are
popular
the
than
most
Hawks.
popular by far.
Cubs, yeah, as well. So
I
I
still
mean,
think
I'm a
we're the
Sox
most
fan, and I
popular.
understand that.
Cubs are still the most popular team, even though they haven't won since 1908. But anyways, but the thing with Rondo and Rose is they can either move up a ton or they could be at the bottom of the list by the end of the year just because of injuries and how many question marks are around their team. Because Rondo, I mean, like we said, all of their jobs basically in the starting lineup is to get to the hole. And all of them doing that, it's going to kind of take away your assist numbers.
And I mean, it's funny. We're talking about two guys in 2008, put them in the top 15, maybe
The Rondo
even
Rose
top 10 for
matchup
sure.
was legendary in that first round playoff game.
And now think about it.
or first
what-
round of playoffs, I should say. The entire round was
8
beautiful.
years later, we're thinking, 17, 18 on our rankings.
Not exactly where Derrick Rose was hoping to be.
I want to talk about really quick before we get into the top 10, 11 through 16 or 11 through 15. What guys kind of surprised you and what guys do you think can make the next jump into that top 10 and what guys do you think can fall out completely down? Because right now at 11 we have Reggie Jackson.
And that's the guy I wanted to throw out there because
Okay.
Reggie Jackson, for you guys both had him in your top 10.
Yeah.
At number 10, I had him at 13. He was a guy that I had a lot lower to at first when I first put the rankings because I just went through the point guards, went, okay, this guy's above this guy's above this guy, and then really went into, okay, I got to move him up, got to move him down.
I think part of it's emotional.
Is he
definitely
really a
think that.
top 10 point guard coming into this season?
I think with his performance last year and that he's just going to get better because he's just getting older and more close to his prime. Drummond's just getting older and better.
The team
to
is
his
growing
prime.
together. That's what I think Sean and I both look at is this is a Detroit team on the upswing. They've got all their core is in the same rough age bracket. So look, they're going to grow together. They're going to get better together. And he had a really good season last year. And now he gets even better. And his backup is even good, Nish Smith. I just got to throw Ish in there because, I'm a Nish fanboy. But no, I really think that he has potential to continue growing. I think he's definitely on the right track. A guy who I don't know about in that section we were talking about is actually Ricky Rubio, who I know Minnesota fans.
I wanted to put
I
Chris
respect
Dunn in
him.
there. I wanted
you're an asshole.
to just be Chris Dunn instead of Ricky Rubio. But yeah, that's
I mean, Rubio still is a 15.
Yeah, he's a floor general. He directs traffic. He is a pure passing
Mm-hmm.
point guard. He can drive. His shot is shit, and we all know it. But look, he's still a very good point guard. And I'm a little worried because of Chris Dunn coming into town that the clock is now on Ricky Rubio for
Chasing him out.
How much longer is he going to be?
And
here?
Ricky can play decent defense as well.
Yeah,
so
he
I mean,
can.
he's not like he's a kind of a downside of this Timberwolves team. But looking at the future, Chris Dunn will fit this team better for the future, and that's kind of what we're going for. And I think Rubio can stay around that, even if he goes to a different team. I think he can stay around that 15 area.
Yeah,
I don't think
he's a good guy.
he's gonna drop off. I think the guy that's really gonna drop off is Brandon Knight because while you did talk us into Dave completely talked us into putting Brandon Knight pretty high. I had
stats did speak for themselves though.
I had Brandon Knight
he was a
outside
one-threat
16,
team,
but
yeah.
I think he's going to fall. And I think he's kind of going to be in that Derrick Rose thing where injuries are just going to completely hamper his career. I think that's really going to be the downside of Brandon Knight. I think he's going to fall out as well because this Suns team isn't that good. Why are you so high on Brandon Knight, really?
His stat line was pretty good from last year, but the more important thing is his play style really fits well to this Phoenix Suns team, and they're adding a lot of young guys around him. So the weight is still going to be mostly on Brandon Knight, and I guess still Devin Booker can continue growing. We saw a lot of good things out of him. I think he's one of the highest second-year players we're looking at, to kind of grow. So look, the nice thing about Brandon Knight, the little asterisk you put next to him is Well, you got Eric Bledsoe behind him too.
Yeah.
So between the two of them, they're going to play 82 games.
You even got
However,
Tyler Eulis behind that.
And that's what I was going to say. That may
yeah.
even change because it may end up just being Knight
One of
with
them's getting
Tyler
traded.
Eulis behind him.
One of them may get
This might be
traded.
the Isaiah Thomas effect here, where
God.
Isaiah got pushed out of Phoenix before they moved him. Let's actually talk about Isaiah Thomas. We'll go into the top 10 here. Dave and I both did not have him in our top 10, but somehow he still ends up at our top 10 because Ricky had him at
Ricky
7.
math. Ricky math right there.
Ricky had him at 7. Ricky, why do you have him above, at least at 7?
Well, it's one of those things where I think that when I look at Isaiah Thomas, I think one of the best point guards in the league. Of course, he's not going to be better than a Steph. He's not going to be better than a Russ. But the ones that I looked at was Kemba Walker, Mike Conley, and even John Wall. I know John Wall's kind of the iffy one for is he going to be above or below, but that was the big one where it was like, you know what? He's better than Conley. He's better than Walker. And then it was flip the coin. You know what? I'm going to put him ahead of John Wall.
But is he really?
Yeah, is he really? What about Isaiah Thomas makes him better than John Wall, first off, and Kemba Walker and Mike Conley?
I look
about
at him
his
and I
game?
just see
Sell
like,
it.
and maybe it's
You got to talk us in here.
Maybe it's for me also it could be the Washington Wizard effect of it's like John Wall on a crappy team. I'm not saying John Wall's not a good point guard. It's just one of those things where I look at Isaiah and I go, that's the guy. For me, I'd rather have him at point guard. That's the guy I'd rather have.
All right, and this is his first season or for the rest of their career?
And
Because I mean, John Wall again is on a bad team.
Well, when you look at the two, the shooting percentages are comparable. The points are comparable. It's just John Wall gets more rebounds and has more steals
and more assists.
Yeah. So literally,
But
John Wall
okay,
is one of 4 players who has 10 assists.
But let me throw this in, and this is what you said at the beginning, Dave. The point guard position has changed where it's not assists aren't the end all be all now for point guards like it used to be. It used to be point guard, how many assists do you have per game? Now, like we're looking at fucking Steph Curry each and every night. Nobody, he does have the assist numbers to back it up because of the team he plays on, but nobody's talking about how many assists he has per game. It's how many points he has per game.
Field goal percentage wise, they literally make 7.2 a game. Both of them are around 7.2 and 7.4. The difference between those two players, Isaiah Thomas gets to the line more, and that's where he's getting those 3 extra points per game. That's really the biggest difference between John Wall and Isaiah Thomas.
And I'm not saying there's a huge difference between them. I had him literally 7'8".
John Wall's a 6'4" point guard who is a bull going to the basket.
Yeah, and he's smooth in transition too.
Smooth in transition. Wasn't playing without his best shooter in Bradley Beal. I mean, I have no reason why he wouldn't be in the top 5. I have him in top 5 at top 4. You have John Wall down at 8. So let's give out the top 10 right now, and then we'll discuss. So top 10, the 10th player is Isaiah Thomas, basically because Ricky had him at 7. Dave and I both had him at 11. Then we go to number 9, Mike Conley. We all had him at 9.
That was kind of beautiful. I'm not an all-star, but I'm close.
Yes, and Mike Conley at 9. Kemba Walker at 8. I had Kemba Walker at 8. Dave had him at 7. Ricky had him at 10. Then we go up to 7. This is where people might get upset here. 7, Kyle Lowry. I had him at 6. Dave had him at 8.
He's in my top 5.
And Ricky had him in his top 5. 6 was John Wall. John Wall was 4 for Dave and I. John Wall was 8 for Ricky. Then we sit at 5. 5 is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving was 7 for me, 6 for Dave, 5 for Ricky.
3 for me. Kyrie, 3.
3. My bad.
Yeah.
I read Kyle Lowry's name. So 3 for Ricky. Then we go to Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard sitting at 4. I have him at 5. Dave had him at 5. And Ricky had him at 6. 3 was Chris Paul. Dave and I both had him at, again, We Agree podcast.
Jeez.
Dave and I had him at 3, and Ricky had him at 4. Russ across the board at 2, and Steph across the board at 2. Or Steph across the board at 1. Obviously, we all think Steph is the best point guard. We all think Russ is the second best point guard. Where do you think that where do you think we really got wrong? Because we have a 3-way tie here at 4. We have Dame, Kyrie, and John Wall. Who do you think should really be that true 4th best point guard?
It depends what you want in a point guard. Because look, when you take a look at these 3 players, they all bring something different to the table. Look, Kyrie Irving can play hero ball amongst the best of us. He has no problem taking the big shots, as we saw to end out the finals, and he can drive a team on his own. Damian Lillard, he is the closest thing we have to outside of Steph Curry to Steph Curry. I mean, he jacks up shots. He's getting better and better every year. And on his own, he had some success, but that addition of CJ stepping up really took his team to the next level.
And Dame did have LaMarcus Aldridge for most of his career
Yeah,
as well.
that's true. But I mean, it's a double guard backcourt that kind of helps out a lot, I think, with these players. And then John Wall, again, I think I'm with you, and I have the highest of thoughts for him because he kills it across the board, the stat line. And if he had a healthy Bradley Beal, he would be set. I mean, this Washington team would be a totally different team.
Looking at Kyrie and John Wall, there's no reason why John Wall should be below Kyrie Irving because if you want to throw in the playoffs and Kyrie was on the better team, you could say that as well. But John Wall averaged more points per game. He had 19.9. Kyrie had 19.6. And again, you're playing with LeBron, so those numbers are going to be down a little bit. Rebounds were higher for John Wall. Assists were way higher. Kyrie only averaging 4.7. John Wall at 10. Better shooting percentage for John Wall. I think for at least 3. Field goal was a little bit higher for Kyrie. But I mean, still, I would say John Wall is the 4th best point guard. And if you put him on a good team, he might beat Chris Paul there. Because I feel like
that's dangerous. Because I think we all agree Chris Paul is the 3rd best. And it's kind of that weird thing.
Point guard.
Because, best two-way player. He is the closest thing we have to John Stockton in today's day and age. He is amazing at the 3. He is the best floor general I think we've seen in our generation because there's no one who can direct traffic like him. He keeps everybody involved. He keeps the ball moving on their offense. And look, on defense, he's tenacious.
See, and with me, I had Chris Paul different than you guys, obviously. I had him at 4 because I had Kyrie at 3, but for me, it's one of those things of when I went back to the Isaiah Thomas over John Wall discussion. It's what do I want in a point guard these days? And Chris Paul is good. Yes, he is. But if I'm looking at a point guard, I'm saying fuck it. I want to go with Kyrie. That's not saying that Chris Paul sucks.
But what are you looking for in a point guard? Because
nowadays
John Wall
looking
beats him
every
across the
statistical
stats.
category.
I'm looking
except for
a
big game
guy,
shots.
Well,
and playoff performance.
That adds into it too because the one thing I'm gonna say it now, I'm actually making a slight change
on the fly
to my rankings. I'm actually gonna switch Kyle Lowry and Dame. I'm gonna put Dame at 5.
So now
Lowry
we all have Dame
at 6.
across the board at 5.
Well, I'm thinking about it, and this had nothing to do with where you guys had him. I looked at it and I went, while you guys were talking, I'm thinking, why do I have Kyrie above of Chris Paul? And it's like,
because you're out your damn mind.
I'm like, because he can make that last second shot. He has it in him. Dame, same thing. So that's why I'm going to put
Chris
Dame
Paul hit one
ahead of. I'm not saying Chris Paul hasn't, but if I'm putting the ball in that last second, I'm going to put the ball in the hand of Kyrie. That's also why I'm going to switch Dame and Lowry right now.
I mean, you're throwing a wrench here in our rankings, but still,
not really, because how we had because how we had it was literally because of the math. There's a 3-way tie for 4 with Lillard, Irving, and Wall. Lillard now gets bumped up into 4th all by himself.
I completely disagree.
And then
there.
Lowry just moves down a point, but he doesn't move anywhere in the rankings. So now it's Lillard at 4, a tie at 5 between Irving and Wall.
Okay, so now we got to give something to Kyrie because Kyrie is on a team with LeBron James. He's not going to be the focal point of a team, and he's not a true point guard. I mean, he's not like the way he plays. He's basically like a Jared Bayless, where he is going to be the point guard on the depth chart, but the real point guard is going to be LeBron James. That offense is running through LeBron James
in crunch time.
I mean,
if
that's the case, let's just put LeBron at the top for every single position.
I mean, he can play all 5.
But I mean, position wise, I mean, he did not play like a true point guard. And then if you look at him, I mean, he doesn't have the highest 3-point percentage. He doesn't have the highest field goal percentage. He's not shooting over 45%. He doesn't really grab that many rebounds. I mean, Kyrie, if he was on his own team, I think he would still be.
We saw him early in his career like that,
Yeah.
and even then, we didn't see him cover the board as far as the stat line goes. So.
He had higher point performances in his second year than he did this year.
Yeah, but it's still just a point of, yes, he can make big shots. Yes, he is reliable under pressure, but so is Chris Paul. And that's what blows my mind. And John Wall across the board is better than him.
Well, and the thing that I go back to from what you said, Sean, is you say, oh, well, he's not the true definition of a point guard. But we've said so many times in this segment that the definition of a point guard has changed so much that when you're defining a true point guard,
let's take a look at our
point
top
guard anymore.
But let's take a look at our top people. Steph Curry averaged like 7 assists last season. Westbrook 10. Chris Paul was at like 8 probably. I'm just winging that one.
I think it was around 10. I think.
And then John Wall was at 10. So I mean, out of those top guys, we're talking about people who are above 5.
Here's the thing.
And Kyrie was at 4.
Here's the thing I want to throw out there.
Chris Paul had 10 even.
Jesus.
Here's the disclaimer I want to throw out there about Steph Curry, though. Is he's going out and getting the assists, or is that the system and the team that he plays in caters to those assists?
I think it definitely helps that, but
he plays
still.
hero ball. You can't tell me Kyrie Irving doesn't play hero ball.
No, I'm not saying Kyrie doesn't. I'm talking about
Steph. I'm sorry.
I'm saying Steph, like that team, the Warriors, their whole philosophy revolves around passing, the extra pass, getting more people to touch the ball. In the playoffs, that's all they did. Try to find the open guy to score. Yes, Steph Curry can hit any shot on the court.
So are we saying if we plugged in someone else in that spot that they would have a similar performance to him?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
you're saying the system matters. So now I'm saying
Russ was
plug in
with
another top
KD,
player.
so I mean,
I'm just saying overall with the assist numbers, yes, that Curry having the assist numbers he had matters, but it also do we take in a system for
then you got to
players?
look at John Wall. John Wall athletically up there with Russ. I would say up there with Russ, for at least athletic, from an athletic standpoint. Jesus Christ, from an athletic standpoint. So I mean, would that matter if John Wall was on a better team? You put John Wall with a guy like KD. Does he put up more assist numbers? Does he put up more points? Does he have a similar season to Russ?
You got to remember the guy who was getting the best benefit from John Wall last year was Martin Gortat.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I mean, Bradley Beal was injured. So you have if you take out Bradley Beal out of that stat line, you have Marcin Gortat and Markieff Morris as your top 2 scorers who are averaging 13 and 12. I mean, Otto Porter scored around 10. I mean, John Wall makes his team better, and he's not even on that good of a team to make them better. I mean, right now, I would put them near in playoff contention just because of John Wall. And if Bradley Beal stays healthy, I mean, this backcourt is going to be like the Dame and CJ we see in Portland.
Well, that's the thing. I'm telling you, every good point guard has a good second guard, except for Kyrie Irving. Actually, that's the weird thing is, and they've got a weird situation.
And maybe Russ.
Too. Well, now Russ.
Russ with the Oladipo.
Yeah. So I mean,
but before
having that second guard in the backcourt, I think helps out your game immensely. And look, as far as I'm concerned, traditional point guard to new age point guard, where we have Steph Curry, who per 48 would be jacking up like 40 plus points a game, 42, something absolutely absurd. I mean, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but when you can average 20 plus and then probably you want at least 8 assists and like 5 plus boards. That's my ideal point guard. That's what I want to walk away with at the end of the day.
And when you look at point guards, you also got to say, who out of all these guys, who would I want to start a team around? Yeah. I would say it's got to be Steph. We've not seen a player like Steph, no matter the position. We've not seen a player like Steph who could shoot like he can, who can dribble like he can, I mean, he doesn't play like great defense, but still, I mean, system or no system, can still shoot the lights out. Russ would be 2 for me as well because, again, you look at a guy like Russ, freakishly athletic, can drive like a bull, and can play great defense. So Russ would be 2 for me. Then I would even put John Wall at 3 because Chris Paul, you need those other guys around him. Because Chris Paul, while a fantastic player, and while he showed that in New Orleans, if you put more guys around them that he can pass the ball to,
he's got a good multiplier effect.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I mean, John Stockton would have been a great player, but he had Karl Malone next to him. I mean, that obviously helped him as well.
Magic.
So, I mean, maybe Kyrie would move up if we're also playing that logic as well. If I'm starting a team around that guy and that guy only, maybe Kyrie moves up. Looking at this, who would you say is the most underrated point guard? Because we can actually say this. What guy are you like, he's that low that he can make the highest jump? Because we can actually look at the rankings that we have.
Oh, that's tough. I really
is this a guy like in the top 10 that
anywhere,
can be up
anywhere that you should say it should be multiple levels higher than where he currently is? Because right now,
define multiple. How many spots we talking?
Well, a guy that it could be any way you take it. This is basically how you define the point guard.
I'll throw it out there then. Jalen at 21.
Jeremy Lin has a chance to go
could be higher
again.
than 21. I had him personally as high as 17 on mine.
He has a chance to go off. I mean, if he is running this Nets team, we've seen what he can do at his best, and we've seen what he can do at his worst. So, I mean, like, look, his bottom end is he's still going to give you probably, with starting minutes, probably still like 14, 5-5, which is fine. But if we can get him to go off like he did before, and he starts putting up like 19, 7, and 10 or something crazy, like, that would be amazing. And he's got that potential, but I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to go off like that. Honestly, for me, the person I've got who's going to make the biggest jump this next year is probably D'Angelo Russell. Because I think full-time minutes and with Luke Walton's system, I think they've got new talent in there. They've got Luke Walton guiding them. They've got veterans they brought in for the locker room. I'm sorry, I'm a Lakers fanboy, but where he's at in the rankings right now, he's at 20. I think he can jump above a handful of guys.
Him and Moody, I think, could take huge jumps. And again, this is just based off of what they did last season and how well they can do this year. I still think that D'Angelo Russell and Moody can take big jumps, and I think they will take big jumps. Just based on how much potential they do have.
And maybe it's also thinking back to the Moody thing. Maybe it's just because of how much I got some hype for Denver this year.
Yeah,
overall.
And we talked about the two-guard combo. He's going to have Jamal Murray who could shoot the lights out, and D'Angelo Russell has Jordan Clarkson, who I'm really high on.
The one thing I find funny looking at our personal rankings, if you just put all of them one next to the other and said, pick out the Laker fanboy, people would think it was me. I had D. Russell as high as 14.
Well, you're insane.
Yeah, I mean,
Not entirely false, but I don't think having him at 14 is that insane.
I would say real quick, the most underrated point guard for me at least is Reggie Jackson. I think he could jump over. I think if we're saying you could start a team around any guy, I would probably take him over Mike Conley, Isaiah Thomas, and Kemba Walker. Maybe not Kemba.
See, I really like Kemba.
I do too.
He's one of those guys who's like
Kemba.
fringe, like he's just outside of this conversation we were just having.
I think Kemba is one of those guys that can jump really high or can take a complete step back.
He's got that lightning in a bottle kind of feel to him.
Yeah.
Like anything can happen when he's got the ball in his hands, and I got the biggest hype from him. And I think it's because we watched him come in through college, watch all his college play, and like he absolutely killed it, and like everybody was a huge fan. NBA, he's had some difficulties, but at the same time, he's continued to grow and get better every single year.
I got two. I don't know if they're overrated, underrated. I just want to throw them out there and stick them to the board. George Hill at 16, Gordon Dragic at 14.
Dragic, I want to see how well he can do without D Wade. Yeah, because I mean, we saw in Phoenix, he's a really good player, and it's not like he's not a good player.
Even down in Miami, he had some good synergy going with that team, but I think that team is just a question mark because of Chris Bosh. If Chris Bosh is not healthy, he's gonna have to step up huge, and that stat line could be crazy for him.
Or he can completely fall out.
Yeah, I'd say, or he can just completely fall in the background, and this Miami team is just gonna be like a question. It's just gonna be like background noise. Like that's all it is. George Hill doesn't thrill me. I'll be honest. He's just generic average point guard.
I think
new team though in Utah.
The thing is George Hill moves up. It's because his team will also move up. Yeah. I think George Hill is going to be ranked how well his team does, because I don't think George Hill isn't the star of a team. He can't be the main focal point of a team, but he can be a really good player on a really good team. Is what I'm trying to say. I think that George Hill is one of those guys that he won't be like, oh, wow, George Hill, look at him. Wow, oh my God, this is insane. This is like, wow, this team just works very well, and George Hill contributes to this team. I think that he will be a player that won't thrill anyone, like you said, but again will stay there. So I think Dragic and Hill are placed well. I don't think they're overrated or underrated. I think Dragic can move up because he has the most ability to move up, or he has the most ability to move down just because of the teammates around him and surrounding him in that situation. Real quick, I do want to throw out though, I think Isaiah Thomas is completely overrated. I think having him at 10 is ridiculous. I put him at 11. To start off, but I mean, still, I think he, out of everyone, he might take the biggest drop, because if you look at Isaiah Thomas,
he had a standout year,
but can he sustain that? And looking at Isaiah Thomas, I don't want to take anything away from him, but I mean, he's not the greatest defender.
I don't want to take anything away from him, but here, let me knock you down a few pegs.
Still, he had a great season, and I don't want to again, I'm not trying to shit on him. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but looking at
first
him,
it's the Magic, now it's Isaiah Thomas.
I don't hate Isaiah Thomas.
Celtics.
The thing with Isaiah Thomas is
I'm pulling your chain, basically.
I think he over succeeded, and I think looking at his this team, I think it's kind of a really good fit for him. I think it's kind of that Steph thing where he's getting 7 assists, but he's also playing with Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. I think that with Isaiah Thomas, he's more of a product of the systems he's been in, because obviously he's shown that he can score in bunches, but outside of that, I don't think he's that great of a playmaker. He's not that great of a defender. He can't rebound at all because he's 5'9". I think that he's a really good scorer, and he can get to the basket well, and he's going to get to the line a lot because of his size. But I think that he might take a fall if that ability to drive falls down. I think that's really where Isaiah Thomas can fall.
And that's fair. I think one of the biggest surprises for me was kind of that realization that Tony Parker is over the hill.
Yeah.
Like, I knew he was never the best guy on the Spurs, but he always contributed, and it always seemed like, he's still pretty good. And at this point, I'm like, he's done. Like, he's just over the hill and done at this point. He's never really been a phenomenal talent, but at this point, I've got him like very, very low. I think he's saying it like 24 for us cumulatively. But
I would still take him on my team. I still feel like a guy like Tony Parker can contribute in some ways.
He's got that veteran savvy. He's got the Euro step. He can still get to the hole if he
was my backup point guard, I'd love it. I would love if Tony Parker was my backup point guard, but having him as a starting point guard on a playoff team like San Antonio, that worries me. And he lost Tim Duncan. I know Tim Duncan wasn't lighting it up last year, but still. I just think that the San Antonio team will take a step back just because they are getting older. And this team, a lot of these players are getting older. Tony Parker obviously lost that athleticism and quickness that made him so great. And I still think he's going to be the starter in San Antonio. I don't think he's in question of losing his job. I still think he'll be very serviceable. But looking at if he can make a big jump, I don't think he's going to make a huge jump up, and I don't think he's going to make a huge jump down. I think he's perfectly placed where he is because I think this is what Tony Parker is now. If you asked me, 7 years ago where Tony Parker is, he might be in top 10. I would say that because Tony Parker has shown throughout his career that he can work well with San Antonio.
4 years ago, he was averaging 20 points a game. Mm-hmm. Now he's down to just under 12.
Kawhi did come in, though.
I understand that. I mean, their roles shifted around because they got that big upburst of talent, but at the same time, it's like he's really taking the step. He's lost multiple steps at this point.
He's getting older.
Yeah, and
that's it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It's sad.
Final thoughts here. It is sad that people get older, and I think some people are overrated, some people are underrated, and we'll have a lot of disagreement. So if you do disagree, comment down below. And if you do want to check out the full rankings, go to mostvaluablepodcast.com. You could find out all top 30 of our rankings there. And join us next week where we'll be ranking the top 30 shooting guards in the NBA. And you can find all of that on mostvaluablepodcast.com. And you can listen to that full podcast next week on Blog Talk Radio. So don't forget to check out blogtalkradio.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But that's going to wrap it up for Dave and Ricky. I'm Sean Anderson. You can check out all of our social media links in the description below. And also, if you're down there, check out our patreon.com. If you want to support us in a special way, check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you do not miss any of the great content that we're pushing out. And we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter @MostValuablePod for more great podcasts.